get on to some pronoun people news and some furry news, some they them news, if you will. There's a few things. First of all, there is some news about this Thomas Crooks character. Now, if you don't remember who that is, I don't blame you, because the media has tried to hide what really happened in Butler, Pennsylvania on the day that Trump was almost assassinated, and they want you to think that Thomas Crooks is the kid that did it. I personally do not. However, I do know that the FBI is saying that this is the guy that did it, and he's the only one, and there's not a second shooter or whatever. I don't buy that either. But let's just pretend for a minute that this is all true, okay? And I do think that the reason that all kinds of manner of things are not necessarily coming out is because we don't have the whole story yet. And I'm hoping against hope that there are people being looked at and countries being looked at and organizations being looked at that we just don't know about yet, and that eventually we'll know everything. But we need to also brace ourselves for the fact that we might not, because it might involve other countries that are supposedly our allies. And maybe Trump is going to use some leverage on them in other ways. We don't know. But anyway, here's the point. Earlier this week, Kash Patel and the FBI came out and they said that Thomas Crooks, this little kid that is the person that they are saying shot Trump. And I'm not saying he didn't shoot Trump. I just don't think he was the only one involved. Okay. I had interviews with people during that time, especially one girl especially that was like, there was a second shooter and I saw him, and the person that they're showing, the person that they showed his head blown off, like you could still see his face, that person is the person I saw walking around before the shooting. It wasn't Thomas Crooks. But anyway, whatever. So Thomas Crooks evidently, let me get up here. He what was released the other day was that Thomas Crooks was interested in furries and used they them pronouns online. So of course he did. You know, it's like, I wish that the trainees would like calm down. I wish that the trainees would realize that the time has passed for them, and that people are getting back to normsies and realizing that, wait a minute, we were in this like fever dream for a few years thinking that you could choose your own gender and you could, change your biological sex. Like, that was crazy. And I mentioned this in another video that we're going to start seeing, I think, unfortunately, a lot more of this violence with transgenders, because they were sold such a bill of goods. And now the collective world is waking up out of their stupor and realizing that was real effing stupid. And they're not going to take too kindly to that. And in fact, so many of the recent shootings and incidents in the country have been done by transgenders. I think it's important that, we need to look no further to AOC to tell us what's really important on 11/17/25. So it was the Transgender Day of Visibility, I guess. Oh, excuse me, not the Transgender Day of Visibility. That was Easter Sunday when Joe Biden was in office. He wanted to make sure that Transgender Visibility Day, he was like, I know it's on Easter, but we're going to say it anyway. We're going to stick it in the eye. Anyway, AOC said, this Transgender Awareness Week, we celebrate the resilience, courage, beauty of the trans community. Your lives matter, your stories matter, and your right to thrive and exist authentically is not negotiable. We stand with you today and every day. It's like, what kind of message is that sending the next tranny shooter? That they get to go out and shoot up another school because someone doesn't want to acknowledge their mental illness? Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like to me. So, flame on, AOC.